What we're currently seeing with Mac Jones is exactly why Tom Brady left. The Mac Jones situation is very interesting. Okay, so we all know how this started. New England drafted him in the first round, and him and Cam Newton, they were battling it out. And to make a long story short, Cam Newton got kicked to the curb, and they decided to go with Mac Jones, and I do think that was the right choice. Cam Newton already had 1 year at New England, wasn't too impressive, and especially in the later half of the season, he got pretty bad. It really does suck to see Cam Newton go out sad in the way he's currently going out, but he's getting older in his career, and he's not going to be a franchise quarterback that New England was looking for. Everybody saw how Bill Belichick and New England, they were looking at this. If we do decide to go with Cam Newton, he's only going to be really good for maybe at max 2, 3, 4 years. Whereas if you do go with the younger guy, Mac Jones, yeah, you may have some bumps in the road early, but he could be here for the next 15, 20 years, similar to Tom Brady. And last year, the Patriots had a solid year considering the fact Mac Jones was a rookie quarterback and they didn't have that much talent, yet they still went 10-7. They did make the playoffs, and if you did see that playoff game, it wasn't too good. They got absolutely curb stomped, but that seemed to be the remedy the entire season. They're going to beat the teams they should, but whenever they're playing a powerhouse, they're not going to win. Why is that the case? It's rather simple. They're not letting Mac Jones lose. Anybody, and I mean anybody with a decent or even a bad football IQ could tell if you watched them play last year, they were coddling Mac Jones. The best way to describe it, it's almost like they wrapped him in bubble wrap. Or here's a better perspective so maybe me and you can relate. It's like they let him ride a bike, but they put training wheels on it. I guess I could make an argument and say, well, hey, it worked, didn't it? They went 10-7 and made the playoffs. But you have to understand the Patriots, they're not the Jets, they're not the Jaguars. They're not just trying to make the playoffs, they want to compete for Super Bowls like they've done the past 15, 20 years. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but if you play the way you played last year, there's not even a single chance you're going to compete for Super Bowls. Maybe in the 1990s or early 2000s, you could coddle a quarterback and possibly win a championship. But in 2022, not going to happen. Recently, an anonymous head coach in the NFL stated Mac Jones was quote-unquote way too protected last year in the Patriots offense. That's not coming from me, that's not my opinion, that's coming from an NFL head coach. Here's the thing with that statement, once again, I think anybody that watched them play last year, they'd be saying the same exact thing. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not rocket science to say that Mac Jones was coddled and they wrapped him in bubble wrap. Do you remember in that game against the Buffalo Bills, he only passed the ball 3 times? Look, I get it. It was windy, it was snowy, it was some of the worst conditions I've ever seen in my life. I remember watching it live, but still, only passing the ball 3 times, it tells you all you need to know. It's not exactly the same thing, but I believe, and I truly believe this, what we're currently seeing with Mac Jones is exactly why Tom Brady left. Early on in Brady's career, they coddled him and they put him in that same bubble wrap, but you gotta remember it was a different era of football. Later on in his career, once he proved himself, they did let him do a little more, but it still wasn't like he's doing for Tampa Bay. The thing with Belichick and the Patriots, it's almost like a dictatorship. They don't let anybody have fun, and they're strictly run by the rules. I don't want to take anything away from Belichick. I think he's a great coach, but sometimes I'm like, okay, dude, you gotta relax. It's football. Try to have some fun, man. One thing I don't like about the Patriots, or really, I guess, Belichick, it's how they operate with their quarterbacks. They give them no free reign. Even Tom Brady, later in his career, it was either Belichick's way or the highway. You can't have it any way else. Look, let's not try to overcomplicate it. Let's look at the cold hard facts. Tom Brady literally had no choice but to leave the Patriots because they were holding him back. That is cold hard facts. They were literally holding Tom Brady back. The Patriots, Bill Belichick, whoever you want to blame, they wouldn't get him any help at the wide receiver position or any skill positions, so he had no choice but to leave. And now moving forward with Mac Jones, not only are they more than likely going to coddle him next year, but he has no weapons. I think the Patriots might arguably have the worst offense in the entire league. But none of this is new. It's only getting highlighted because we're saying when you don't have the greatest quarterback of all time, you're not really that good. Outside of a couple years here and there and that 1 year at Randy Moss, The Patriots never gave Brady some elite wide receivers. You gotta think about it. Tom Brady was out here winning Super Bowls with DoorDash drivers and insurance salesmen. I like Julian Edelman and Danny Amendola, but come on now, they weren't top 5 wide receivers in the league. With Mac Jones, I think we all agree, yes, he is being coddled and they did protect him way too much last year. But at this point, it's not even that. Even if you do let him loose, who's he gonna throw the ball to? Whoa, hold on. I already know somebody, or probably a lot of people, are gonna go to the comments and say, well, Matt, he's a rookie quarterback. That's what they're supposed to do. I strongly disagree, because eventually you're gonna have to throw him to the fire. So why wait and do it? Just do it as soon as he gets there. You're better off to throw him in the fire his first or second year, see if he can be the franchise guy, rather than wait 3 or 4 or 5 years down the road. Because at least if you throw him to the fire early, you can tell if he's going to be your guy or not, and you didn't waste no time. And may I remind you, we'd be having a completely different conversation if we were talking about college or high school. This is the NFL. Mac Jones is a grown man. What do I mean by that? It's simple. He's been playing football his entire life. At Alabama in his first year starting, you didn't see Nick Saban hold him back. They let him loose, and guess what? He went off. I know he didn't win the Heisman, but he arguably had one of the greatest seasons for a college quarterback of all time. That year that he had at Alabama and the year that Joe Burrow had at LSU, they weren't too far apart. Make no mistakes about it. Mac Jones can flat out ball. You just gotta let him loose. And I hate using the word coddled, because I think it's more than that. It's almost like they looked at him and said, hey, don't mess up, don't throw the ball 15 yards or more, and we're going to be fine. Just dump it off to the running backs. Maybe if he didn't have arm talent, or he couldn't throw the deep ball good, I would agree with that, but I saw what he did at Alabama. This man can pass. He is beyond accurate. If you don't want to take my word for it, that's fine. I'm just going to read you off his stats from that year at Alabama in 2020. Mac Jones passed for 4,500 yards and had a completion percentage, and yes, this is correct, of 77.4%. Do some of y'all know how insane that is to complete nearly 78% of your passes? And these weren't dink and ducks. He was throwing the ball deep down the field to Devontae Smith. He also had Jalen Waddle and John Mechie, but Waddle, he got hurt. In that same year, he also had 41 touchdowns to only 4 interceptions. I get it 100%. Oh, that was in college, and the NFL, it's much different. I agree with that. I just wanted to show you those stats so you can understand, if you do let him loose, he can go out there and make some plays. Will he make some mistakes? Yes, he's going to make many of them. But what quarterback in the NFL doesn't make mistakes? We're talking about the NFL. To throw some great touchdown passes, you're going to have to take risky throws, and eventually interceptions, they're going to come. But here's my thing, and we see it with Patrick Mahomes. If you never take those risks, you're never going to get that high reward. In 2022, here's what I do know. If you just dink and dime your way down the field and take no risk, you're not going to win a Super Bowl. Taking a look at his numbers from last year, they weren't bad. They were in the middle of the pack. He passed for 3,800 yards. That was 13th in the league. Had 22 touchdowns to 13 interceptions. Yeah, you would like the touchdown to interception ratio be slightly better, but you can see right here, that's middle of the pack. And last but not least, his QBR on a scale of 1 to 100, 50 being average, was 50.9, which ranks 16th in the league. For a rookie quarterback, I don't think you could ask too much more out of Mac Jones than what he did last year. Was it great? Was it phenomenal? No. Did it wow you in any way? No. Was it good? That's even questionable, but here's what I do know. It was average or slightly above average. Once again though, and it's the main focal point of this video, they still coddled this man, and I have no reason to believe they're not going to do it for the next 2, 3, 4 years. That's problem number 1, and problem number 2, I can't emphasize it enough, they have surrounded him with 0 weapons. They do have a solid tight end group and some solid running backs. I like Damian Harris, but outside of that, there's nothing there. And every day as time continues to go on and we see Belichick slowly start to fall off, we can tell that Tom Brady was a large reason the Patriots were so successful. I don't think Tom Brady was the sole reason they were winning all these Super Bowls, but I think he had a bigger play than Belichick. I am very curious. Let me know your thoughts on all this down below. But what up, peace, man.